All right. Why fathers matter. I'm super excited today because all dads aren't the same. However, every dad matters. So today I'm super excited to share today's panelists with you as they share the impact of fathers in their own lives and the approaches they use to create a positive, lasting impact in the lives of their own children. With me today, I have Mr. Gregory Cox. Wade Greg, who is currently the Fatherhood Coalition Coordinator at Children's Home and Aid. As an author, Gregory Cox has written Promising the Moon, a personal journey into his life, which was adopted as a required text for Illinois State University's School of Social Work in 2016 fall course on child welfare services. He has also co-authored The Parents Get Real Guide to Getting Your Children Back and The Parents Get Real Guide to Keeping Your Children at Home, and has published several articles regarding fathers' rights and responsibilities. He has served as the chairman of the Cook County Birth Parent Council. This council is a product of DCFS partnering with Parents Initiative. One of Gregory's greatest achievements as chairman includes developing the concept of Annual Institute Day that empowers birth parents with information on navigating the child welfare system. This event has been instituted into the activities of DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services, Parenting with Parents Initiative. He's also the owner and co-founder or founder of um, Doing Family Inc. Yes? Okay. Dr. Onaje Muid is a father and grandfather in a blended family. He holds a doctorate and master's degree in social work with over 35 years in behavioral health. He is a widely sought out speaker and workshop leader. He is also the newest member of our National Parent Cafe leadership team at Be Strong Families. Woo, woo. And Heavy Crownz, last but not least, is an artist, educator, and community servant. He hails from Inglewood neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. He has one purpose for his music: to plant seeds of positive thought in the minds of his listeners. With his raspy voice, shifty, effortless flow, and unique sense of style, Heavy Sound is agricultural, forever promoting growth and the beauty in it. Heavy has embarked on two independent national tours and sold out the promontory and promotion of his Agragon series. He tends to his own gardens by seamlessly integrating community service into Chicago hip hop culture. Heavy Crownz is currently promoting his most recent mixtape, Whole Lot of Seeds. I just want to take a moment, and I'm your host today, Sarita Sashington. Super excited to be here with you guys, and super excited to be able to hold this space for you guys to have this fantastic conversation. So, welcome, guys.
Hello, 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 hello.
Welcome,
I
welcome.
want to hear Heavy do some rapping.
Me,
I'm sorry.
me too.
I want
look,
to hear something from Heavy.
look, me too, Doctor. I thought she finna say come to concert. I thought.
I know, Heavy. If you are at all feeling inclined at the beginning or the end of this to drop a couple of bars, nobody is going to be upset. We welcome the refreshing of that with
I
us. So,
I'll spit something real quick. Y'all ready? All right. Listen, we talking whole lot of seeds to grow into some trees. This is an important conversation about what young boys need, the father in the home, the matter to resist against collateral damage that could happen if the father ain't cracking. Here is against the status quo. Brothers growing and learn more. Find the true goal, the family tree, the mother, the father, equal and balanced in what we need for our seeds as we begin. Let us succeed, excel, and exceed.
Oh,
Awesome, man. That's awesome. I
we'll
love that.
take
yeah.
that.
That's what I'm talking about. I was about to
We'll
go on
take
strike,
that.
yo.
We'll take that, sir.
Take that,
Thank
sir.
you. Can I get each of you guys just to take a moment and tell us how many children you have and where you're from? Like, your city and state. How many children you have, or how many siblings you have?
Well, I'll kick it off. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Gregory Cox. Thank you, Sarita, for getting us started. Thank everyone, all of the panelists that's here. I have a lot of children. I have 9 biological sons, also married to Heavy Cox, who we integrated children's. So the total of 12. And I'm excited that they are grown, gone, and out of our home. So they doing their own thing. So I'm excited to be here. Looking forward for the conversation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Greg. Welcome. You were a busy guy. 9 children. Amen for Jesus. All right. Who's next?
I don't mind going. I don't have any biological children. I have 2 sisters, and through my years of education and mentoring, I've been blessed to be a father figure to well over 100 young men in our
Awesome, Heavy. That's good.
Thank you, Heavy, and welcome to the conversation today.
Yes, honored to be here. Grateful to be here. Much love and respect to the fellow panelists as well.
So I have a blended family. Between me and my wife, we have 12, and one of them is an adopted young lady from Eritrea, which is right next to Ethiopia. People don't know about that, but this and yeah, 12.
Yeah,
Blended
awesome.
family.
Awesome, man.
You have 12 too?
12 too, yeah.
Oh my goodness, you guys are busy. Heavy, you're gonna have to work really hard to
Well, I
catch
said
up to
blended.
that.
Don't
Oh, okay.
don't forget the word blended. It's blended.
Blended. Okay.
He don't want to leave that out. He said, don't forget blended.
He threw that in there real quick, right? So where are you guys from? Because I don't think I heard that. Did I miss
Well,
it?
I'm originally from Harlem, New York, and right across the bridge in New Jersey, Bergen County. So it's like right across the George Washington. Think George Washington Bridge, right? Bergen County
Mm-hmm.
in New Jersey and Harlem in New York. But currently, I live in Lansdowne, Pennsylvania, which is right next to Philadelphia. But most of my work is in a town called Chester.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm actually from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised Chicago, Illinois, for sure.
Shot
Yeah,
town.
me as well. Chicago, Illinois, Southside, Inglewood, to be specific.
Thank you
63rd
guys.
Street, to be.
63rd Street. Okay. Look. That's
Awesome.
that's the mom in me peeking out 63rd Street. All right. So let's get this conversation started. And you guys don't have to go in a particular order, whoever wants to go first. We'll love for you to share because this conversation is why fathers matter. And I thought it was a good conversation to have because as I listen to my husband, my wonderful husband, who says that nobody thinks about dads on Father's Day. He says we're so unappreciated, is what he says. We're so unappreciated. Mother's Day, people spend like months thinking about moms and what they're gonna do for their mothers and the restaurants are packed during that time, Mother's Day, and on Dad's Day, he's like, yeah, nobody's doing anything. Nobody's thinking about the dads. No, the restaurants aren't packed. Um, and so I thought, well, you know what? Let's take some time to just appreciate and celebrate um, dads. And dads, all dads matter. For me, it's important today to capture the African American voice on dads. And so here we are. I'd love for you to share the positive impact your dad has had on your life. So anybody can share. Whoever like to go first.
Um, I'll go. Um, that could be that's a very, I don't want to say loaded, but it's just a lot to that. I think that the older you get, you always realize how much of an impact any experience any person can have on you. Namely, your father, the impact me personally has been really great, huge. I'd say forever, just showing its value. I think one of the main things that my father could have ever instilled in me was hard work. Um, we're not the same person. We have like really two different personalities, but it's so funny as I look back on my life, um, if the clearest indication that I think that I'm my father's son is always in the ways where I'm able to navigate through a challenge or a tribulation, and like just figure things out. So, and then having a work ethic, a true work ethic that I'm willing to turn on at any time if needed. That's like one of the main impacts I say I've gained from having a father in my life.
Yeah.
So let me first of all start off and say, number one, thank you for getting us started. And this conversation is definitely needed. And the truth of the matter is I'm participating and I am being involved in a lot of the discussion as it relates to fathers. I think one of the things why when you talked about, Greg mentioned sometimes we don't get as much clout, or or things are not as open or as wide for men or for fathers, is some of it because stigma. Father's not there. They don't. And that's what we're working to change now. And I think it's done got better within the years in terms of Father Day and father's involvement. There's a lot of programs now, a lot of agencies that's really working toward increasing the father's involvement and increasing awareness of fathers, right? It's getting better. I've been involved in doing fatherhood work for some years, and so it's getting better. And I think we have to be able to identify some of the different, and you mentioned that, Sarita, some of the different ways fathers father or parent, or some of the different patterns that we see fathers. One of the things my father did for me is that he was sociable and he was outgoing. He had some challenges. He was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and there were some challenges there. But then also he was a social being. The community loved him, right? And so that's one thing that I can say that I've gained from my father, is to be social, to be outgoing, to be willing to just listen and understand different people and how they do things. I'm excited about the new generations and how they're doing things. And Heavy, his time right now, just being part of this panel, it speaks a lot to me, just to hear, how he's thinking about fatherhood and the impact that his father made on him. So yeah, so I think for me, it was just learning how to be social, learning how to interact with different peoples. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my father, Thomas Oliver, was born in 1933 and left this world prematurely, like 53 years of age, was about 1986. So he had a tremendous impact on my life. I was like, when I had mentioned, sometime in New York and sometime in New Jersey, that's because I was going with my father's family in New Jersey and with my mother's family in New York, and I'm going like this. So I got a headache, y'all. I got a headache back and forth across the George Washington Bridge so much. But I guess the thing which stands out more than anything was his commitment to justice. Anytime he saw something that was wrong, he would step in. He would step right in. It's like, had no fear. It's like, no, this is not right. I'm going to correct the situation. By his hand. He was a very physical person. Was an MP in the Army. He was a paratrooper. So I just want to give a shout out to my father who's up in heaven, and say that he gave me a lot. This question was asked of me the other day, and they asked me for a moment, and the thing which came to my mind was, a moment when, and we hugged many times, but I don't know if it's all the times we've hugged together or this one moment when we hugged and my head was on his head, and it was just such a humbling embrace that it just stayed on my heart forever, and that's what I'm going to hold, share with you. That tenderness that he had.
Awesome.
He was hard, but he could be soft too.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Gregory, when you were talking, what came up for me when you were talking is I was thinking you mentioned your dad's faults, right? Like the imperfections of him. But what came up for me was that the great thing about parents or about anybody, there's no perfect person, and especially there isn't a perfect person, and how much you can appreciate about you. There's always something to appreciate about each person.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we aren't perfect, there's always something to appreciate, which is, and I understand that there's challenges in the father-son relationships, just like there's challenges in the mother-daughter situation sometimes, and there aren't any perfect parents, and in that, there's still things that we can appreciate about our parents, um, because that's just life, right? And so I appreciate you sharing like the positive pieces of him, right? Because we want to know that too. Because
Right.
we get a bad rep all the time. Dads get bad reps often, which you mentioned. And so there's always something to be appreciated about everyone because there's no perfect person, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
um I guess Ziggy. Heavy, would you mind sharing? You shared a story with me about your dad, and it just really it blessed me, which is what sort of was thinking, oh, I got to get this, shared because it's something I don't think about as a mom. I hadn't thought about as a mom. I'm always cognizant of the things that I do as a mother, not necessarily so don't necessarily think about the things that my husband is doing on his part as a dad to influence the kids. I guess I have a different lens. So would you mind sharing um that story?
Yeah, absolutely. So the story that she's alluding to is basically, growing up on the south side of Inglewood, it was a rough neighborhood, and they had a lot going on, a lot of high activity, um, even through the day, through in the daylight hours. It was a lot for you to get into and a lot for you to see. And during most of my high school experience, my father used to make me like, I was probably one of the last of a generation of I don't even want to say like, okay, it was like not street lights, but it was like 9 p.m. Like a real curfew. Oh, excuse me. A real curfew. My dad was a pretty um stern guy. Not a man of many words, but his word was law a lot of time, and so it was very irritating to me at the time. Every time I'm out hanging with my guys or whatever, and 9 p.m. like clockwork, he's calling me, telling me, yeah, it's time to go ahead, come in the crib, this and the third. And I believe on weekends I got like exceptions of when I could go out longer, but it would have to be like a lot of communication and stuff like that. But for sure, during the week when I'm just in the neighborhood, he was real stern about me being in the house at a particular time, which really used to bother me. And I felt like my street cred was always in jeopardy. But as I look back at it now, it was definitely the best decision. Because even as much as I saw during the day, and experienced, the night was a whole nother world animal that I didn't really need to be a part of on a school night anyway. So
Or any night.
yeah. Now or any night, but 9 p.m. calling, hey, it's time to head home. Hey, it's time to head, it's time to make that move. And I just have to be like, all right, y'all, I'm gonna holler at y'all, man. I gotta go in the house. So hated at the time, but it's definitely one of those safety parameters. He made no qualms about it. He didn't feel any way. He didn't make him feel bad and sad that I was sad. He knew pretty much what he was doing and why he was doing it. And he didn't feel like he necessarily need to communicate that to me. It's just more importantly that I just do what he said, and so yeah. He was definitely protecting me, being a protector for sure. So yeah.
Man, I think that's amazing how you are able to articulate that and share that. I'm that same dad. That's the exact way my kids came up, and I'm almost sure it was doing the same time, but we was on the west side. And so, but one thing I did too is the kitchen, if you wasn't in at the time you need to be in, the kitchen was closed too. So it was like I didn't only, it wasn't only you didn't get in, and then you didn't eat. So you had to figure it out. Okay, are you gonna eat outside and come in, or are you gonna come in the time you come in and don't eat? So it was like, okay. I mean, I wasn't a bad. Hold on now. These were teenagers, young adults. They did sneak and ate. And later on, I want to say this for the child welfare protection, right? I want to make sure that make sure, doctor. I want to make sure that I would say that I stopped my kids. They was teenagers. They was over the age of adolescent. They came in the house, and some of them snuck the other kid in the house in the basement through the back door if they came in past curfew. So thank you, sir, for sharing that. When I did it, it was about protecting them and making sure that they were safe from the elements of what was going on in the community. And so that's what it was about. And that was my responsibility, is to try to make sure that even if I didn't tell you why, the goal was to keep you safe and away from harm, hurt, and danger. That's what it was for me. And I'm sure it was that way for your father too. So that's awesome, man.
Where were you at?
Say it again.
It's
Where were you at? West side?
I was at the west side. I was on K-Town. K-Town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder how you curfew for your kids over there.
Oh God.
Dr. Naji, did you have a similar experience with your
hey, listen,
children,
y'all,
your sons?
you are making me go back to the time I almost lost my life. My father said, "Be home before dark. Change your school clothes and put in your kick around clothes when you come home." And it was a third piece. I can't think of the third piece.
Homework, probably was homework.
Well, this so in interesting enough, I lived in New Jersey in a town called Englewood, New Jersey, and we had a pond. It was called Miller's Pond. So what did I do? I brought my ice skates to school, which I shouldn't have done that anyway. Bring my ice skates to school, and Dee Dee said she was going to stay around and ice skate. I said, "Well, I'm staying here with Dee Dee." Now remember, that weekend, my mother in New York had bought me a new pair of shoes, and now I'm bringing these new pair of shoes to school and sporting and stuff. Well, at the end of the day, it's dark. Didn't come straight home. Didn't change my clothes, and I can't find the other shoe. I'm in trouble. Now I had so much. Now this is how much I feared my father so much. I was afraid to run away. Now you know that's some serious fear. When you're afraid, because when you get home, you know what's going to happen. But when I get into the door, my stepmother said, "And don't you touch him." And I went straight to my room, closed the door, and I'm thankful that my bladder didn't bust that night because I was not coming out the room, and I wasn't coming out the room until he had left to go to work the next day. But he was very strict about coming out about being home, but it's the same thing. He was trying to protect me, And I'm thinking of another kid around the corner, JoJo, who was running the streets going wild, and he wound up doing life.
Mm.
He wound up doing life, and so that meant. I mean, if he would have hit me that night, it'd have been all over because my father was an alcoholic too. So sometimes I don't know if he was drinking that night, it didn't make a difference. But his rage it's like fire was coming out of his eyes. When I came home that day, I'm walking straight into my room. But I think it's fathers want their children to be okay. He wanted me to be okay.
Yeah. Those ways that your dad impacted you, um, how has the ways your dad's impacted you, how's that impacted, affected the impact you have on the lives of your own children or the impact you hope to have on your children?
Some ways,
I think that I'll say that for me, so it's two-sided, right? My dad's impact on me it has shown me a lot of things that I want to do with my own children, and a lot of ways that I could be a little better or different. I always talk about, I always talk to my mom about how, you know, my father's a man of few words. He comes from a different era. Um, and his dad comes from a different. My grandfather comes from an even more different era. Um, and growing up in today's society, we finally get to we actually get to honor and balance our feminine and masculine energy, and also be able to talk about mental health and express things that men didn't feel comfortable doing or didn't think was possible to do. And so my dad didn't really talk a lot about that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Um, and I look forward to doing that with my kids more. I do, like my father, plan to instill hard work, an understanding that, you know, respect is everything. Being able to, one thing I say this, one of the greatest words of advice my father has ever given me in my life that I'll pass on to my future children is a word of wisdom about relationship, friendships, love life, whatever, and how to find the peace through those changing seasons. He always told me that, friends be in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And when God reveals which one that is for you, you should go with peace in that revelation. And so it's helped me to be able to go through life knowing that every friend not gonna be there and not supposed to be my lifelong friend, or everybody. Some people are in your life to bless you with a lesson on the journey. You know what I'm saying? And some people you'll know without it ever really being need to be said. So he didn't talk a lot, but when he did speak, he said things that were, profound. And so I look forward to, instilling that type of wisdom into my own children, and reiterating the need for respect and to earn and give and work hard at whatever it is, because no one's gonna, you shouldn't expect people to hand you things in life, and keeping some of those things with me, but also going further and being a better communicator and being more open about where I'm at and how I'm feeling to be more of a vulnerable leader for my family.
Mhm. Yeah. And this is just a conversation, so whoever wants to, jump in next can jump in. I'm
You
just
know,
appreciating it. Hmm.
there's there by the grace of God, go I. So right now I'm experiencing a very difficult time in my life. And that's because my son, my only son, has decided to disassociate himself with his family. Not just me, but with his mother, the whole family. The woman that he's married to has got his mind, twisted in such a fashion that it's not the way he was raised. And if somebody was to ask me, particularly between my daughter and my son, if a situation were like this would happen in the future, who would be where? I would say I would probably be closer to my son than my daughter, but actually the opposite is true. So I haven't seen him for maybe about 8 months now, and he doesn't communicate. So um, I think me and my wife, this is my second marriage, me and my first marriage, I think we gave him everything that a child could want: love, support, rites of passage programs. From our point of view, I think we did everything right. But I think young people have such a, and Heavy said it, young people today have such a heavy burden placed on them, in terms of the peer pressure, and television and radio and Zoom. And I mean, the world that they live in is just not the same kind of world in which I was raised. So I will take any blame, that I've done wrong, but I also know that it's not just me, and it's the pressure of the outside world. So um, the way I was influenced is to love my children, set boundaries, respect them, and support them. And I think I did that. Me and my first wife, did that. I think very well. But also, it's the world, right? So you really can't talk about fatherhood without talking about the world. In social work, we say understanding human behavior in the social environment, but it's not just the social environment.
Hmm.
It's the economic environment. It's the political environment. In
Hmm.
fact, it's a historical environment. See, I didn't have, like on my father's side, when my father took me to the grave in Westwood, New Jersey, where most of my family live. I mean, where they're buried. He said, "This is your grandfather, right?" But he wasn't married to my grandmother, right? So the name that passed down was my grandmother's name, right, Oliver, rather than Cisco. So, but what is that about? It's about a society that has put black men at the bottom, or maybe black men and indigenous men at the bottom. So when we talk about fatherhood, we can't divorce it from genocide. We can't divorce it from slavery, and we can't divorce it from what I call domestic colonialism. And where does that come from? That comes from Dr. Martin Luther King. He said black people are living in domestic colonies. So you can't talk about fatherhood without talking about grandfatherhood and so forth
Hmm.
and so on. So I tried to give my children, a sense of history, right, and a sense of identity. So needless to say, I'm very disappointed that I don't have my son in my life. And of course, it almost seems like a contradiction because I'm a fatherhood coordinator for the Foundation for Delaware County. So all the things I'm doing for these other young men, I'm not in a position to do it for my son. And maybe God willing, he'll come back to his family, come back to me. But in the meantime, I'm not. That's not going to stop me from loving the young men that I'm connected to. So I think
Hmm.
in the black community, there's a village where you may not have your physical father, but other men step in. Like for me, it was Majani and Rifu, it was Irvin Davis, it was Elambe Braff. These are men. It was Gil Noble, and from New York, he was on TV, and he was fathering me from a distance. So it's not just a biological father, but I think it's the community father that makes a big difference as well.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
good. That's good, sir. That is good. I was listening at you and talk about describing generations, fathers and father to generation, the different generations, and you're right. And I've seen you piggyback on Heavy, and you absolutely right. We're living in a different generation. There's a different time now when we talk about fatherhood. we talk about grandfathers. It's things are just different, and it looks like we have to approach things different as it relates to fatherhood. I said earlier, my father drank and drugged, um, and I did the same thing. When I got older, I drank and drug and lost my children through child welfare and had challenges. And I love my father. Let me just put this out there too. I love my father. Um, One of the things that he showed me, he was resourceful, and he was able to get the resources that he need when he needed it. And so if it's anything that I want to make sure that my children get, it is to be resourceful. Now, what I did is I went to treatment. I used the services, the resources in our community in order for me to get better. And so if there's anything that I would want my sons to and my daughters to understand is that if you are in a situation and you need someone, and when we talk about the protective factor, we talk about concrete support. When you are in need, be humbled enough to be able to go get the help that you need for yourself and for your family. And I think that's one of the things that we're seeing now in heavy mention when we talk about the Black man and the mental health, because remember, we're trying to get him healthy so that the family can be healthy, so that the community can get healthy. And so when we talk about the Black man and the Black father coming to the community or being out of the community, what do we need to engage him and make sure that he's getting what he need in order for him to be healthy for the family? And so for me, being in social service and doing the work with some men, right? Doing the work, I would want them to know that, look, if you don't get it from me, and you get it from another healthy man, then it's okay. I remember my son was in high school at this time, and I remember telling him some things, and you know how it is. He was in school, and I told him some things, and he was doing sports, and he came back to me. Now, he didn't tell me that he got it when I told him, but he came back to me and told me what the coach said. And the coach said this, and the coach said this, and the coach got it. I said, really? I said, okay, all right. And so I listened to him, but what I had to reason within myself is that the coach told him exactly what I told him, but I had to humble myself and say, okay, we both win. If I can humble myself as a parent, if he don't receive it from me, if he receive it from another male figure, then we both win, because he still get the whole idea, the concept of what I'm trying to explain to him. And I think that's the thing that we have to understand, is that if there's another male role model who they are getting it from, and they don't get it directly from us, then chances are we still winning, because at some point we did give them what they need or explain to them what they need in terms of a father. My oldest son is 42 and my youngest is 31. And so right now I'm at a point of, what do you need from me at this time? Because my father didn't see 50. My older brother didn't see 50. I'll be 59 in October. And so I'm needing something different from an older man as well, because I never seen that, right? 63, what do retirement looks like? What do aging look like, getting gray and things like that? I didn't see that in my father. He didn't live long enough for me to begin to see some of the challenges. And so when we talk about the father matters, we also have to know in what area do he matters, or are we able to identify the different areas? And Heavy talked about that too. Is that I'm piggybacking off Heavy because I love it. He's the other generation, and it's important for me to be open to hear what he have to say. So I think it's important to be able to be open and listen to this generation. The doctor said it too. They're up against more exposure than I was. It's more exposure. We had the TV that went off at a certain time and a line went through the TV. Now you can watch TV all day, every day with 5 and 6 series, and you can stay at the TV for 10 hours, or social media. And so I'm open now to listen to the younger generation and ask them, what do you need from me in this time and in this season as a father? as a Black man who's raising Black sons.
And I'll even say this just to bring it back around. I think for you brothers that are already fathers, and something that I'm already trying to be proactive about in my own conscience is to give yourselves grace. I turned 30 this year, and as I've grown as a man, I've learned to give my father grace in a lot of areas, because like I started off, like you just said, we both are existing in two different worlds. We grew up in two different worlds, and I exist in a generation where I'll say this, you all exist in a generation where people exist in silos. Like you said, the TV went off. People's community was that community. Like there is no internet to connect to another community abroad to figure out that these teens are expressing the same ills that you are expressing at the same time at 3 a.m, like you are experiencing with the same detail of a situation. And sometimes when we think about the collective mind and you realize that more people feel the same way like you, it also magnifies the problem. It could magnify the issue for you because you know that more people are existing in a thing. So if I am born into a generation where if I say, man, I don't know how to communicate. I have trouble communicating with my woman. We're struggling, and I'm faltering at communicating. And then I look on the internet and I see that there's 2,000 other men that are also struggling to communicate with their woman. And then I'm able to see 1,500 of them say, yeah, my dad X, Y, and Z. Now is magnified in my mind how how big the implications are of the lack of what my father is doing or what my father is doing, which now I must have to retool and make my mind up to try to reinforce positive thoughts into, maybe my dad didn't talk to me because of this, because I don't want to jump the mental bandwagon and say, man, my dad XYZ. Now I have to do the extra work to be like, okay, well, maybe he didn't because of this, or maybe he had to do it like this because of this, because it's so much opportunity for me to find the collective mind of a traumatic or unserving thought, belief that could manifest. And this is the world that I'm in, where I constantly have to pull back, retract from collective mind, make my own mind, decide my experiences that I've had as a youth are not as bad, or maybe only this or that, and not this bigger thing that other people may be experiencing. So having that understanding, I must also honor that I have had experiences that I can grow from and do better than my father. And I had a great experience because I can pull so much from my experience with my father. So like, give you all selves grace, because one thing, this like a newer thing that millennials we thinking like, right? Parents, when I have a kid, ideally I would not like to say, I brought you in this world so I could bring you out.
Whoa, hey, brother,
Ideally,
that's what my father used to tell me, brother, all the time.
I know.
All the time, man.
Ideally, we would like to be able to say, I want to be able to say, yo, the Most High just gave you to me for me to serve you and guide you along this crazy life and this journey. You not really mine. You gonna be your whole own person, and my whole job is just to serve you with the proper things you know you need to gear you up, to honor you, to armor you up against this world and the thoughts of this world. And if I try my best at arming you up and serving you as you go off and do your own thing, I don't want to have the connection that whatever you do after I've armored you is a reflection of my faults. I just will try my best to gear you, armor you, And whoever you become as an adult, I cannot condemn myself if I know in myself I tried my best. So if y'all tried y'all best, find rest and grace in that. You know, like yeah.
So let me just say this. And this is a great conversation. I wish we could take this conversation longer. We're 10 minutes, we have 10 minutes left. That time went so fast. We have 10 minutes left in today's webinar. Can we close out like this? What is one thing you can say to a dad to encourage him? One tool that you could give to a dad to strengthen his relationship with his children. One thing you would do to encourage, you would encourage dads to do to strengthen relationships with their children. And I know we have talkers in here, so just mindful. Go.
I would say be open, be open to new conversation and new discussions, and then not view whatever they're going through or their decision based on the world that you came up in, because it's different now. To be open and be able to listen to them and how they experiencing things. And so just remain open, humbled, and not punitive or being direct or being controlling. It's like being open and being available to listen to them.
Science has shown us that you need to, when you hold somebody, I think it's for 15 seconds. I don't know, I forget the number, how long it is, but there's a certain amount of
20
time.
seconds.
How many?
20.
20? Well, you have to hold someone before a new synapse is actually created in the mind. So I would say hug your children. All the words and all I mean, that's good. The philosophy, all that's good. But if you're not hugging your child, they missing something. You got to hug that child. You got to hug your children. I would say put that grip on them.
Hug the kids.
That's right. That's right.
Kids. How many men are hugging their grown sons? When was the last time you hugged your grown son?
I hug them and greet mine every time we meet. As a matter of fact, I've learned to make like I'm falling so they can hold me up. So I hug that's our greet and meet. Hug them every time.
That, and I miss being able to do that with my son. I really, I will say this, that I'm a grandfather, and my grandsons, I'm hugging them up every time I see them. In fact, I'm going to go to my grandson in northern New Jersey tomorrow, Friday night. I'm gonna spend go up there, hug him, spend the weekend with him. Yeah, much as I can. I got a grandson in Detroit who he runs Dave Bing, the basketball player, the mayor, the former mayor. He works with Dave Bing, and I'm just amazed with this young man. One day he called me. He said, "Baba." So we say Baba means father, but I'm his grandfather. But everybody calls me Baba. He said, "Baba, what?" I said, "Guess where I'm at?" I said, "No, where you at, boy?" He said, "I'm at the African American Museum." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Don't you remember when you took me here back around with so and so and so and so?" So it's like my grandson is like my son. You know what I mean? Like he thinks like me. He's doing social work kind of stuff, but he's beyond me because he has some other stuff going on. Like, you doing what? I said, if I didn't know you, I think you'd be lying. But since I know you got good character, so you're telling me the truth. But his name is Aaron Dawson. He has a plant business, and on the cup it says, "Talk growth to me."
Oh my gosh. I know your grandson, and I need to connect with your grandson. You talking about the plant economy. Is that his company?
Aaron Dawson?
I follow their Instagram, the Talk Growth to Me plots. So my whole brand is about plants and agriculture. So I follow a bunch of plant shops all over the central cities of the Midwest and everything like that. I wanted to pull up to his plant shop to do a pop-up artist talk, but I had no contact. Yeah, hopefully we can work something. Hopefully we can
Oh man,
figure
this is
something
too
out.
deep. Aaron
Yeah,
Dawson.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Look, I knew I could pull greatness. And then we have some comments. So I'm gonna just share those comments really quickly because I just want to acknowledge that, the people who joined us. Rigel says she's loving the conversation. Linda Robinson said, when my dad cried, I saw more strength in him because it made me see that he was human.
Mm.
Amani looked up how many hugs we need. She said we need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and 12 a day for growth. And then Kat said, look at God. I love the conversations. Is that our cat? Heavy? Hey, Kat. So okay, Andrew, let's go to any last minute thoughts before we close out, because I just don't want to let you guys go. But any last minute thoughts, because I do have to do the closing slide. Okay.
Hey, last minute thought is let's do it again. That's all I gotta say.
Let's do it again. Cool. Andrew's put in I would really love that and have a deeper conversation. I think this is like just tapping the surface, and I would love to have a deeper conversation about so many of the things that you guys talked about today. I hope you guys thought this was a great conversation to be a part of. Andrew has dropped the poll. We're going to go straight to the other slides. Please take a moment to do the poll. Do me a favor, after today's conversation, what will you amplify? Hashtag amplify fathers matter. What will you amplify after today's conversation? Drop it in the chat. We like to amplify good things and positive things that are happening in the community. What will you amplify? Drop in the chat. Andrew said, amplify the stories of our fathers. Yeah, amplify hugging. Yes. I'm going to go hug somebody. I can't wait to get home so I can hug my family. Amplify growth. Andrew, you're taking all the good ones. Okay. Let's keep going and keep dropping them. We're going to keep moving, but keep dropping your amplifiers in the chat. Join us this Friday. We're going to do a Taste of Dad's Cafe. Yay! Every shot counts. Okay. This is an opportunity for dads to have their space to come and have this conversation with other dads about the joys and the challenges of raising children, of being dads. Guys, I absolutely love cafes, and so you gotta come. It's hosted by our National Parent Cafe team. They do a great job of holding space for people for these conversations. I know you're gonna enjoy it. Please show up. You can use the QR code to register. Next slide, Andrew. And thank you, Andrew, for being a great tech person. Um, every Monday and Wednesday we have these webinars until further notice. We have these, and we have Spanish on Tuesday and Thursday. Use the QR code to sign up today for the next webinar. Next slide. And if you don't know, now you know. Join our YouTube community. If you're not following us on YouTube, you should too. Help us to grow our viewers. We take all of these webinars, we stream them. We weren't able to do it today, but this video or this webinar will be uploaded to our YouTube channel for you to share with your networks. Okay, it's a great conversation. Everyone will have access to it. You can scan the QR code and take you straight to our YouTube page. And just want to say thank you again to our great panelists. Really enjoyed today's conversation, and I'm mad I have to let you guys go. I should have extended this to like 1:30 or something. But thank you for all of your wisdom and sharing your experiences. It meant a lot to me today, and I hope that it did to everybody else as well. All right,
Awesome.
enjoy
Thank
the
you, guys.
rest of your
Enjoyed it.
day.
You guys have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye
All right,
now.
everyone.
Thank you.
Peace.
All
Take
right.
care.
All right.
Let's be transparent and let's heal.